Alright, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the ICA Show. I'm Alan, your host. I'm joined by two co-hosts this time. My usual co-host Luke and Justin, who really enjoyed commentating last time, that he just had to come back for more. Right, Justin?
Yeah.
What did you enjoy so much about the commentating process last time?
It was fun going for games.
It's good. Well, I hope we can see more action from you today and many more days. So now, let's welcome in our guest, Thomas. Thomas, how are you doing today?
I'm alright, how are you?
I'm alright. So, before we get into the game, let's do our interview. So, how long have you been playing chess?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Like 7 years, I think.
7 years.
Yeah.
And for you, was it constant progress or more of like you had
No.
skyrocket? No?
No, I kind of had like big plateaus around like 700 and 1200 level that lasted multiple years. So.
And then this year, maybe not necessarily this tournament, but I know that before this tournament, you had a huge increase recently from 1300 to like 1550, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So with that, let's get right into our game. Let's not delay. We have two games to go over today. So let me just share the screen. And here we go. So the game between Thomas and Artem, who could have joined us today but decided not to, we will start. Luke, take it away.
Okay, yeah, so Thomas, you're playing white, I guess, and Artem was black, so e4. So right off the bat, I always have to ask on the first move, is this your main opening, or do you like to switch it
Yeah,
up?
this is what I normally do, e4.
So solid repertoire, so we get c5, Sicilian defense by black, knight f3, d6, and c3, so still we're following your main variations, Alapin style.
Not really.
No? Okay.
So I usually play d4, but I figured he would be prepared a ton for d4.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to take it into a position where neither of us really knew what to do, instead of just him knowing and me not.
Well, I like the practical decision. Yeah, after d4, there's a whole lot of theory. So c3 still can get very sharp, but yeah, like you said, probably not the top of the list for being booked up from black's point of view. So okay, knight c6. From what I'm aware, knight c6 already is a little bit either, it's not ideal as far as I'm aware. I believe you're supposed to go knight f6 is the main, the most forthright attempt by black to try to equalize right out of the opening, because this pawn already is a little bit soft. Now, let's all be aware, right now, even if it were black's move, you can't take this, right? You cannot take on e4 because there's always this check. So like bishop e2 is a move here, h3 is even a move, just sort of tempting black. But yeah, after knight c6, you get d4 in very easily. And, if the knight were on f6 here, there's some opportunity to take here now that queen a4 check is not lining up with the knight. So knight c6 is a little bit either, like I said, confrontational, or maybe just not really trying to play the most critical line. So d4.
Yeah, he had to think for a little bit before playing knight c6, so I knew he was kind of out, like he didn't know the theory.
Yeah, so that's already, as black, I would be worried here. You're giving them the whole center, and it's a little bit of an awkward spot here, because you don't always want to take here and allow the knight to come to c3, right? That's the whole downside of having the pawn on c3, and if you're getting this favorable trade right away, then the opening is paid off. But also as black, you definitely don't want to allow d5. So yeah, this I think is already posing some problems for black. Okay, so he takes, knight f6, knight c3, and g6. So maybe getting into a King's Indian Benoni style position after d5. So okay, taking space, but maybe black can claim, now that the pawn is off d4, maybe this diagonal will be, a little more open. Was there anything other than d5 you were considering here, or is that a?
Not really. I mean, I thought just driving the knight away, just wherever the knight goes, it's going to be really inconvenient.
Yep.
And also, like, just grabbing more space.
Yeah, I definitely like it. So knight b8. Now, just for the record, right, not the end of the world. This knight will find some squares that have been now, given up now that the pawn is on d5. So visually, I think this you could look at this and be like, oh, white is like just way better, but black still has some dynamic play. But bishop e5 check, they block with the knight, and bishop g5. So liking the way you're developing here. Already some very concrete threats.
Yeah, I think bishop e3 might have been better, just so that, like, if an eventual knight c5 happened, I could take. But
that's an interesting idea. Yeah, a lot of King's Indian positions you can give up, even though that bishop looks so good on the dark squares. Yeah, like you said, cases where maybe there's like a protected pass pawn on d5. I like bishop g5. I think bishop e3 is nice too, but this I don't know. Visually, I like that the bishops are out and about. So okay, bishop g7. We both castle, and queen d2. So connecting the rooks. So okay, now knight c5. So maybe like in a position like this, would you have rather had taken if the bishop were on e3? Is that your sort of idea, or? Oh, I think he's
seems
occupied.
if Tom's a little busy, so
yeah.
I will defer this question to Justin.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Justin, seems if queen and bishop have a good bad realigned, 12 point to go for h6, and would you even risk something like a pawn storm going for f4? What would you do here?
Well, if the bishop were on e3, I think bishop takes c5, taking the knight would be just almost winning for white, because after d takes c5, you can play e5, and those pawns are like extremely strong here.
Yeah.
But at this point, since the bishop is not on e3, it's on g5, you're not able to take the knight, obviously. So here, I mean, rook e1 looks normal, just to develop a piece while protecting the pawn. So that's probably the best move here. And then we can have plans with bishop h6 to trade the bishop off on g7.
Yeah, that's why I played queen d2 in order to get the bishop to h6.
Yeah. So, and you do play rook e1 in the game. So this is just like everything you're supposed to be doing, right? This is looks like it's right out of an opening book. Nice control of the center. Okay, you could, I think actually, you could definitely say better development for white. Rooks come into the middle. This looks very nice already. So bishop d7, and you take. So here, I think is a critical moment. Just I haven't looked. This is now maybe there's more concrete details that I'm overlooking that you take. Taking looks fine. Did you consider at all keeping the pieces on? A move that. Okay, I'll let you go.
Yeah, so I thought about doing something like bishop f1 because I know black has sort of a cramped position and trading pieces is going to alleviate that. But I thought my bishop on b5 isn't really doing anything, and I didn't really see a future for the light squared bishop.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think even though our bishop does not have a future on b5, like bishop f1 is preferable not only because we have a space advantage. You don't want to trade pieces when you have a space advantage. And if we trade the bishop on d7, his knight gets to d7, his other knight from f6, and he gets to control some nice squares on like e5. So I don't like giving the bishop up. I mean, it's still slightly better for white, but bishop f1 is probably the best move.
Yeah, and the engine likes bishop f1 as well.
Yeah, a lot of time. I remember when I first started seeing this idea, like bishop f1, knight f1, these types of moves. Visually, it looks like it's a weird idea, right? Because how could the bishop be good on f1? But like Justin, you were saying, the point is not that the bishop is improving from b5 to f1. It's that, well, we're leaving black with, I mean, this bishop is sort of just standing here. This type of idea always reminded me of like when someone waves at someone behind you, and then you think they're waving to you and you wave. Like the bishop is like, hey, let's trade, and then you just dip all the way back. The bishop is very awkward now, right? A lot of space in the center is making this bishop very hard to develop. A move like bishop g4, probably you'll play like knight d4, something like this. But the big idea is that you're just tucking the bishop away, and as the game progresses, as diagonals open up and pawns get traded, eventually that bishop will come to life, and it'll be just as good as its counterpart on d7. So I also like bishop f1. I think taking is reasonable. Your logic seems correct, right? That bishop isn't great on b5. But yeah, it does allow a trade. So queen takes d7. Justin, I definitely agree with you that knight takes looks much more harmonious, right? A lot of dark square to control now. But queen takes, I guess, is also has its reasons connecting the rooks. Maybe rook fc8 in the future, maybe supporting e6. But okay, bishop h6 now. So trading off the dark squared bishop. So Justin, any thoughts here? I think I always thought this was an interesting dynamic of when to trade off dark squared bishops.
I feel like right now trading the bishops it might not be the best idea because maybe you can just bishop takes h6, queen takes h6, maybe knight d3, and we'll have to play an awkward move like rook e2, and then maybe you play rook c8, you try knight e2. Oh yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, so before we play bishop a6, I would like to play rook d1 to develop another piece first. Prevents knight d3, and also like there's also potential for e5 possibly in the center. We also don't have to commit to bishop h6 yet, so I would have played there. But bishop h6 makes sense.
Yeah, you're trading off the the fianchettoed bishop is always a critical defender, but yeah, a lot of times you can, as black, you can get away with trading off as long as you have this nice grip on the center, this e5 square, because okay, after we trade everything, right, the big attack here for white is ideas like knight g5, right, maybe a rook lift in the future, but as long as black has this really nice control over e5, even though this king looks a little bit dodgy, often you can manage the attack pretty comfortably as black. And white also has to deal with some dark square weaknesses of their own, right? Because that pawn is on d5, some dark squares in the center are becoming loosened up. So okay, knight d3, yeah, Justin, like you said, rook e2, and queen g4. So already very dynamic play by black. So here, Thomas, was there anything? Okay, you decided to trade queens in the game. Was there anything that you were worried? Any specific attacking ideas of black? Or, yeah.
Not really. Like,
okay.
Somehow I just didn't see knight f4. That was a major idea a little later, but I didn't see knight f4. There wasn't really anything specific. I didn't really like the position of my e4 pawn as well, because it can be attacked very easily by the other knight. So, but other than that, I didn't really see anything specific.
Yeah, this knight f4 idea, and again, after the trade of bishops, right? Both sides weaken their dark squares, but yeah, a lot of times it's easy to underestimate how much of a weakness it can be from white's perspective. That there are actually some pretty serious dark squared holes, like you said, f4 being one of them. This queen on g4 is really annoying. So queen g5 makes sense, trying to trade queens. Of course, tactically, knight f4 is causing some problems.
It works here. He just didn't see it. So.
Yeah, threatening the rook and check, right? So yeah, here this, like you take, right? You hit him with the in betweener. So maybe if you want to trade queens, maybe queen h4 is the way to go.
I think the queen looks scary on g4 with the knight coming to f4 as a threat. But if we just go h3 here, we can just easily take his queen away. There's like no more threat.
Yeah, this actually looks very nice. And here another sort of similar idea, I guess. Right, queen h5 looking for the trade, and of course, if they maybe trying to take some control over the dark squares this way. But again, this would be very ugly after you just avoid the trade. So yeah, actually I really like h3, just very simple. But yeah, queen g5, rook c8 looks like a logical move. This is definitely a sort of easy move to play without really thinking. You know, I guess I could see how you missed knight f4 here, but rook d1 and okay, now he
Yeah.
sees it. Yeah. So very, very common spot of mutual blindness. It happens a lot. So here also, I think there's knight takes b2, right? I guess
Yeah.
tactically it works out fine for white because the. Oh wait. Okay, I guess it gets a little sharp, but definitely knight f4 is much better. Just winning the exchange pretty directly. So takes, and at the end of the day, it's black who's up the exchange. Now, I would definitely play on here like you did. Knight c3 looks good, stopping the rook from entering the second rank. So I guess we'll just see. Actually, I thought black converted very, very well, activating the rook, and yeah, trying to poke some holes in white's defenses. So a3 stopping, I guess, rook b4.
Yeah, I think I probably should have just played knight d4, just
Mhm.
activated the knight, but
I think a3 is also reasonable. Knight d4 looks more active, definitely. Yeah, but rook b4, maybe just actually b3, and the rook actually hasn't gotten really any progress in that little journey. But a3, a6, now knight d4, b5, and very nice play by black, creating a weakness on the queen side with b4 coming. So f3, and yeah, the knight is gonna work its way. Now after knight c6, I mean, maybe it looks like there's some compensation, but okay, he plays rook e8. Here, even I think, oh no, I mean e5 I guess still works, but like takes and here. Actually maybe not. Maybe I'm complicating things.
oh yeah,
too
knight
much.
d5 threatens, and rook takes d7 out of 6. So
Yeah. Okay, maybe I'm overcomplicating it. Like something like this could be very annoying. Okay, so e5 maybe is a little too much. But okay, rook e8 looks much better. Rook e1 maybe trying to play for e5. Is that the idea
yeah,
here?
because I
Yeah.
saw rook takes f4, e takes d6, and the pawn's pinned. So
Interesting idea. Yep. So knight c5, and okay, at the end of the day, the exchange should make itself felt. And here, that knight takes b2 tactic once again is here. Is there not? I feel like there's a way to play here, just visually. Again,
yeah,
talking a lot of about a lot of
Mm.
sort of aesthetically evaluating the position today, but somehow, I guess there's nothing. I mean, you were playing the game, you were calculating. I'm probably not
yeah.
gonna
I didn't
find
I didn't
anything.
really see a way for my 2 pawns in the center to break through at all.
Yeah,
And
it's difficult with that knight on c6. It's hard to play d6 or ever. Yeah, so very, very nice game. It was just that knight f4 trick that I guess both of you missed for a second, but then your opponent found it when he had the chance. But in the opening, I thought very well played. A lot of instructive moments with some trades of pieces, or rather avoiding trades at certain points. And yeah, chances for both sides. So any final thoughts on the game, Thomas?
not really. I mean, it was basically just me not seeing knight f4, and then
Yeah.
maybe I did resign a little too early, but I feel like he would have won.
It seems fair enough. Yeah. Justin, any last comments from you?
Yeah, so I think the knight f4 tactic was really nice because it's a double
Mm.
attack on the rook on e2
Yeah.
and also threatens h3, knight h3
Mhm.
check, winning the queen. So that was nice by black. But also in the end position, just personally, I probably would have played on because, we still do have 2 pawns in the center. and
Yeah.
they're pretty strong. So maybe move like knight e4, could like continue the game. I mean, it's obviously still losing, but you know, there's still always some chances.
Mm-hmm. Wait, what would you want to play here?
Maybe like knight e4 or knight b5.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, knight b5, little
Maybe not knight
desperado.
b5 actually, because rook c1 check.
And
Or rook c1 before, and then knight d1.
yeah,
But yeah, like knight e4. I mean, there's still some chances.
yeah, knight e4. I mean the pawns look nice. Is I guess the big point here. Like there's d6 and knight f6, for example, right? So like let's say just to harp on just a little longer, like knight a4 or like I mean maybe you go knight d3. Like knight d3 and d6. I mean already this looks very dangerous. So maybe. I mean I'd be worried here. I don't know. Let me just cheat real quick. I'm just curious. Is this completely lost? It is completely lost. D6? What's the problem? Oh, you just...
Rook c1.
Oh, rook c1.
Yeah, okay. So I guess you're right, Thomas. It's fair to design. What did I... Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Wait, I'm getting a little bit of lag. Okay, I think I'm back. I was lagging there a little bit. Yeah. So I guess fair point to resign. All in all, well fought game, and just a simple tactic can be all that it takes. Okay, Alan, back to you.
All right, so this would be the point where we'd go into commercial break, and then we'd go to the second game. But for today's show, we're going to do something a little different. Thomas, I'll give you the chance right now to redeem yourself against your host. If I can get this to work. So play with a friend. Doesn't matter. I copy the link into the chat, and let's do this.
All right.
All right, here we go.
C3. What is... Okay. Bishop f4. Okay, this is just a reversed or exchange Slav now, right? I believe so. Okay, bishop g3. Oh, f takes. Interesting. Is it interesting in a good way or a bad way? Will remain.
It's one of this game, Luke. Has to be interesting.
Okay, that's a way of thinking about it.
If it's a rapid, maybe it's interesting in a bad way. Maybe we'll get something out of him in this sort of game.
Mm-hmm. Doubled pawns has been a big theme here, so I guess, Alan, you'll have to prove it for the side of the doubled pawns. E6. Sad bishop.
Very sad bishop, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot. It's a blitz game.
A3. Pawns on dark squares. Makes some sense here. Very interesting. Knight E7. Wow. Okay, so it's a sad bishop on C8, but it is a bishop pair. So we've seen the power of the bishop before on this broadcast. I think my money is on the bishops. Okay. I think that critical moment. Critical moment. Trying to maybe open up is Alan. Maybe there's a White has Yakov says White has no knight e3 checks after, and it's gone. I couldn't read it before he finished that. Okay, bishop h6 here is I was thinking actually maybe I shouldn't say it. Maybe I shouldn't say it because it's still an idea in the future. Okay. F3. Yakov says White has no knight b3 tricks after bishop f4. I'm unfortunately not sure what you're referring to, Yakov.
We will see it after this game.
Okay. You know what? Let me actually view the game while you're playing it, so I can go back and forth. Let's see. Okay, bishop g5. Interesting, interesting. E3, says Yakov. Yakov, do you mean like knight b4 and bishop f5, something like this? Or what? I'm not exactly sure.
I think he meant bishop f4, knight b5, and then knight c7.
Yeah. Like after g6.
Yeah.
Yeah. After g6, I guess there'd be queen a5. But after bishop g7, I mean knight b5 you can force a draw. Actually, you can't even force a draw really, because like knight c7 and that actually maybe you can like knight c7 and like knight a6 or something. But even there, I guess it remains tricky. I'm realizing nobody can see the moves I'm highlighting because it's on my screen. Okay, queen g4, up a pawn is Thomas.
Oh wow, it's so down on time right now.
It's no double pawns anymore. Is the upside.
That's a nice way to put it, Luke.
Yeah. But still, I said before, you know, the two bishops would come to life. Now there's only one bishop, and it's a sad bishop. But
sad.
The ways.
That's an understatement. It's a depression.
I wouldn't be so presumptuous, Alan. I think it's gonna make an appearance soon. F6. Wow.
Wow.
Oh wow. That I would not want it. Okay. Interesting. Sharp. Now the rook endgame is interesting here. Always gotta evaluating simplifications.
Luke, you know what's more interesting, Luke? The fact that I'm slowly catching up on time.
That's good. That's good. This
Very
is
good.
I can't read that close. Oh, it's no increment. So flagging is on the table here.
Oh, for sure.
Uh-oh. Bishop a6, interesting. But b4. Let's see. Very nice. And okay, check. Active rook. One open file. Yeah, and this is gonna be tough.
All right, let's see it, Alan.
That is an active king, though. Ooh, I think king d6 there.
And what?
Was maybe forcing. Was that forcing a draw? Who knows? Not me. Check. Oof.
Ooh.
Now it should be. Oh, but time. Is Thomas going to be a flagging man? Oh, and it looks like he's going to be. Oh, tragic. I think that's the right result. Looked like it was winning most of the way through.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You're delusional here. I had that.
So. I think if you,
I was just gonna march my king up.
I think if you'll head over to an analysis board, you'll see that that's not the case.
Well, I was like buying it too, so not.
Right, how do I announce
C3 though? That was is that a new Alan special?
That's my prep.
Really? Prep. If you say so. C3. I guess people are playing that nowadays, right? Now you can play anything.
No, only me.
Oh.
Alright, Luke, Justin, this game is in the study now. So
okay.
Oh wait, you were +5 at one point.
Alright, let's go over this game here. And we can
I think
see
there was a
Jakob
rook
referring
f1 that I think was
Wait, I had mate in 1?
in the end game. There was a rook f1 threatening mate in 1 that I think
No, I had mate in
What
1
an
at one
awful game.
point.
Oh, did you? Wait, I didn't look at the thing.
Yeah, no, move 43. I had like e5 checkmate.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Oh, yeah, you did.
Oh,
Alright, so let's get to the first moment.
that's nice. Whoops.
Good. So f takes. I just wanted to open up the rook, get the knight, and then I made another strange move. I'm getting knight in h4. Honestly, I just wanted to open up the position, maybe stack here.
Oh, the idea before, by the way, where
It's a pretty even game.
difficult. I think this is what I like to call a serious slight advantage, where black has an advantage that's not really going anywhere anytime soon. But back, I think it was when you played bishop h6. Now, I think bishop h6 is a reasonable move. I wanted to go king h8. I don't know. Maybe this is the wrong way to play. But I wanted to do this. But maybe, I guess, now the doubled pawns would make that plan less appealing. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, bishop h6 looks like the right way to go. g4 is never a problem because the knight on h4 is hanging. So, okay. This is actually, I think, a really nice way of doing things. So, okay. Win a pawn. And why knight d3 here? Or Justin, were you going to say something?
Why knight t3?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to. Knight t3 just to. I didn't think it had much enough for. I could have brought it to e5 afterwards. Or if I wanted to trade queens, I could get the rook on the g file.
Fair enough. Yeah. Here,
Yeah.
v6 I thought looked really good.
What I missed was that Thomas had a little bit of a tactic with. Yeah, b6 was good.
I guess it's the same idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, yeah, bishop b5 is very nice. b6 now. Okay, and after b4, yeah, now is where you're going to want to take. Because
I definitely should
square.
have taken here.
Well, you did, yeah, and you did. And
yeah, I mean, a move before I think taking was the best move too. So
yeah, I think after b4 it's a much better version though, because yeah, after the rook plants itself on c4, it's very, very difficult to play. Yeah, here, I mean, maybe like I don't know, rook f7 or something, and like king g7, and there's flexibility. This looks promising. Yeah, but yeah, once b4 happens, you know, the situation has changed. This pawn cannot go back, and the rook on. Okay, I guess this is a way of doing it too. Yeah, trading a set of rooks, and this I think is lost, right?
-3. Yeah. There's. I'm up a pawn. Rook c4 is. I feel like white's rook is
far more active
always
rook
tied to the defense of those pawns.
Yep, and okay, so getting some activity, and yeah, I like the decision to go b5. So the one line to look at, which I'm sure you did, is take and like rook a4, but there's rook b7, and like okay, maybe this transformation is even good with a5 on the way, but like h3 and
yeah, white has
actually no, what am I saying? I'm sorry. You can take on g2. Or can you? Maybe it's not so simple.
I think
Actually,
here
maybe
we
it is.
can rook h6. We can get the king into e5.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Like king f7, king e5, but like I don't know, like rook e2. Right? I mean,
yeah, but either way, like white has like some serious activity now.
Oh, but I guess check. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, so I like what you did in the game though, b5. Keeping the one advantage, which is the one advantage aside from the extra pawn, the far superior rook you know, planted, I think is very nice. Yeah, so rook b2, h6, so I guess we're not really analyzing in the same way that we were in the classical format. But g3, oh yeah, and here rook f1, right? This is what I was talking about before.
Instead of rook f1, we have a nice move for black after g3.
Oh, e5 or checkmate in 1. Yeah. Somewhere before though. Or actually, no. I think I was thinking it here, and I just missed that this was made in 1. That's actually a very fun
that too.
Yeah. Okay, but and it's still mate. Yeah, the king in these like standoffs in these endgames can a lot of times just get mated right in the middle of the board. But okay, so after you win the second pawn though, okay, it got complicated in time trouble, but obviously 2 pawns up is going to be winning. Yeah, here I thought king d6. This just looks like what they would play in a book, is why I said it. Threatening mate, and a lot of times there are these weird forced draws where like you don't even take any pawns and you just like chase them back and forth with your king. But of course you just taking looks good too. But okay, yeah, you take everything, and this looks like it's 10 seconds on the clock. It's hard to say what it is, but like yeah, this pawn is running 2, which I guess is probably what's gonna ultimately make this a draw. But yeah, you flag him, which is totally on the table. It's blitz. That's just part of the game in this time format.
I've
It's
played
okay.
way too much bullet chess. I'm pretty
Yeah?
good at flagging people.
It looked like it. Yeah, it showed. Okay, so I guess on to the next game. Another game of Yefim Traeger, a classic, a returning guest who's actually never been on the show, but always supplying interesting games, interesting opening ideas. And in this game, playing against Suja, who's another frequent competitor in the ICA tournaments, young player, up and coming. So e4, and in Traeger's style, g6. So he's a big, offbeat opening type of guy. I think we've only ever seen him playing as white on this show, but g6, a modern defense. So we don't need to go into all the different variations of the modern, but similar sort of, Thomas, to your last game that we looked at, or 2 games ago. Black is giving up the center, but going to try to maybe fight against it to get some play that way in the future. So d6, knight c3, doing what you're supposed to do here, and a6. So this here already is, this has still been played before, but Justin, any comments on a6? It might, if you haven't seen this before, it would look like a strange move.
E6 here, I think it's actually the second most common move in the database. I've definitely seen this before.
Yeah.
I think that it's a quite common move in these type of positions.
Yeah, stopping anything. I mean, you're never really worried about a check. A lot of newer players are always wanting to give these types of checks. If you can ever block a check with a pawn, and whoa, what? Why did I just get what just happened? I just got eliminated. Okay, I'm back on the study. That was weird. You're never worried about a check where you can just get parried by a pawn like this, but as far as I'm aware, and I'll acknowledge I'm not the biggest expert in this opening, it's sort of a wait and see type of move, seeing where white is going to set up. Are they going to play more calmly with like a bishop e2 and castles, or let's say they try to set up in a typical like Yugoslav fashion. I mean, it's a little different with the knight on f3, but you're already preparing for this b5 in the event of a long castles. So a6, a little bit cagey, and a3 by white. So, maybe a little bit of a psychological type of move there, just copying. But as Yefim Traeger comments actually in this study, he's basically saying black's a6 move is better than white's, because black can go b5 and take space, but if white is going b5, well, that's going to be a pretty catastrophic weakening, not only of the diagonal, but also it'll leave a hook for black to then change their mind and play a5 to try to pry open that a file. So definitely agree. A3 is really not a lot. That's not really going to be very helpful in the coming complications. I mean, maybe it's like you can put your bishop there in the future, but that seems a little bit too, deep for it to be the idea. So, okay, bishop g4. Typical idea, trying to play on the dark squares, right? The knight covers half light, half dark. So you're trying to trade off a light bishop for a half dark squared piece. Makes some sense, pressuring d4 indirectly. So bishop e3 and knight c6. So, Justin, I don't know about you, but from the white side, I always get intimidated playing these positions because it's like you never know when to go d5 and have a similar sort of dynamic to what we saw in Thomas's game, right, where you give up these dark squares on the in the center.
So it looks, as white, it looks a little scary with the bishop pressuring the knight on f3, and black's pressuring like d4 pawn with 2 pieces. So, but I think the best move here for white is just to play queen d2, and like even if black can take this, like if he allows this, it's not actually a big deal because white can just like castle queen side.
Yeah,
so
and
I think
also
that would have been the best move. Queen d2.
I also
not
really
really
like
caring about double pawns.
Yeah, and the double pawns. This has been a theme in the past couple broadcasts. The dynamic potential of doubled pawns. Also, you can use your sort of broken arm here as a weapon to jam this bishop shut potentially in the future. So yeah, definitely the doubled pawns are not worth giving up the 2 bishops, not worth allowing this huge space advantage for black in the center. I mean, maybe like e5, but like even d5 here is looking pretty nice for white. So okay, bishop e2 though makes some sense, breaking the pin, but now e5, and again we're seeing this dark squared strategy by black. So if you take, I mean, there's I guess a couple ways to handle things here. I mean, like knight takes is something like this seems nice for black. You could take either with the bishop or with the pawn. I kind of like taking with the pawn here. Even a position like this, I mean, like even queen c8 and like, actually now that I'm looking at this, I'm realizing this is pretty ugly. Yeah, maybe you take with the bishop, and if f4, I mean, you can even take on c3. Now that the pawn on a3 is there, those light squared weaknesses are going to be even worse. Or just go back and say that the space is not that big of a deal because there's an open bishop. But okay, d5 in the game. But now we take. Again, once they commit the pawns to light squares, we have now more control over the dark squares. So you get rid of the knight that can protect the dark squares, because that light squared bishop is not going to be long for this world on this diagonal. Not a lot of squares for it to be active. So okay, he takes, and knight d4, plopping the knight into an outpost. Now, this is not as strong of a knight as it is in some sort of King's Indian versions of these positions where white already has a pawn on c4, because there are positions where like knight b1 is an idea, just to play c3. So there's ways of dealing with this knight, but in the game, white decided to take right away, which I guess I understand the logic, but right, that maybe this pawn is going to be a little bit of a weakness. But now this bishop is looking pretty bad. Black's bishop can activate on command or on demand, whatever they say, if d3 is ever in the air. And this pawn is actually not going to be that difficult to protect. So queen f6 played in the game. So already their ideas like d3, but queen d2 sort of stopping that. And knight e7. After rook c1, c5, protecting the pawn. You kind of have to take that en passant. I mean, yeah, I don't think you can really allow this huge majority on the queen side for black. So they take en passant.
Yeah.
Knight takes, and c3. So finally doing something with this thorn on d4. So they take. Important here, I think, to take with the knight, because if you take with the queen, I think I'd be very happy to trade into this endgame. I don't know if you'd agree here that this.
And even bishop takes c3 here.
Yeah, this looks really nice. I feel like I can even go like knight d4. I have a feeling this pawn is not gonna be very good. This is just, maybe I'm overhyping things after rook b6, but
what about queen side first and then knight e5? No, yeah.
That's even better. Yeah, Yeah, king e7 looks better actually.
Hmm.
Yeah, with rook coming to c8 and because your king is a little bit in the way. Yeah. I was just a little bit. Actually, no. E5 is nothing. No. Yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah, but this looks very nice. Weak dark squares, a nice grip over the light squares on the queen side. This looks very good, I think. But okay, that I'm getting too lost in the weeds here. So they take with the knight. Knight d4 now. Again, that really nice grip on the dark squares. And here's maybe why queen d2 in that exact position where it was played was a little bit you know, it had its pros,
Yeah.
but now we're seeing its cons. Now that this can be captured, even queen takes is possible here with a fork. So
I think
of
an
course,
important move
also
here.
we don't. Yeah.
So an important move here for white is knight d5. That's possible. So
Ah.
I guess yeah. So black will have to take. And this position will have to happen. I guess there's some like tricks here.
Yeah.
It gets to a pretty complex position that the engine is saying is equal, because like I guess black's king, like he can't get this rook out. So I guess he would have to play rook c8 knight d5, and it would just end in a draw here maybe.
That looks
So
like
yeah, that was an important line.
Yeah, knight d5 is
So that's
looks
probably
like a
what
very nice
Trigger had in
move.
mind.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so they go bishop e2. So yeah, maybe knight d5 is a critical move to see here. But yeah, after bishop e2, not the end of the world, but you don't want to be moving the same piece twice if you can help it. But after castles, rook c8, just activate the rooks. That knight is not going anywhere because white gave away their dark squared bishop just a little while ago. So f4, gaining some space, but also slightly weakening the dark squares, right? In the future, this diagonal is going to be wide open. So rook e8 makes some sense. Pressuring e4, putting some pressure on e5 as well. Bishop g4 and just rook c5. Black almost has all of their pieces on dark squares. Looks very nice already. e5 now, a sharp move with a tactical justification. So e5, that is a defended square. Your eyes do not deceive you, but it's a clearance sacrifice, which is actually a very nice idea. Oops, that's not the move. D takes and knight e4. So winning in exchange. But the question is it going to be worth it that you're giving away yet another piece a minor piece that can cover dark squares with this huge dark squared pressure by black? Again, now that the f pawn is moved already, there's of course winning threats. Knight f3 being one of them. So white has to step out of the way, and a lot of times, and again, even though black is down in exchange, a lot of times the fact that this king is in the corner with this constant pressure on the g1 square, very often this is more than enough compensation for black. And I think the fact that you have this iron grip on the d4 square is going to be definitely enough compensation. So e4 now, closing the center. Queen e3. So this looks like what you're supposed to be doing, blockading the passed pawn. But okay, of course, queen b5, we unpin. You're not winning two pieces for a rook here because you'd be hanging checkmate. You'd be hanging the rook at the end. You can block, but of course you don't want to do that. So rook f2. Maybe now this is an idea, but h5 and f5. So very
So white's bishop on h3 is really weak. It's a bad piece.
Locked. Yep. This is and it's kind of difficult to get it out, right? Because if you ever have to go g3, well, that's again one of the big problems with having only these two pawns in front of your king. Then the light squares are going to be very weak around the king as well, and the second rank is going to be opened up towards h2, which in the distant future might be a problem. So this is a really ugly situation for that bishop. Yeah, like you said. It's okay. Rook fd2. And I guess we should just quickly show Traeger's comment. It says, triumph of the black play. All of black pieces are powerful. A white bishop, the white bishop is miserable. Note that white cannot trade a rook for 2 pieces on d4, since after the move e3, that's going to decide the game. So he's saying, here.
After h5 bishop.
I guess
try
he's
to win
saying
2 pieces here.
E3. That's a nice detail. And the pass pawn is going to run. The queen is really nicely.
Actually,
placed
queen
here.
f6. There's queen f6 here for white, actually.
And that's a perpetual. Is that
some engine line where it's a draw?
Like
g4 here.
Okay,
this
g4.
Kind of
okay, yeah. I guess fair enough if you don't see that as from all the way back here. That's g4 is. I mean, maybe if it's white to play and draw, you could find that, but that's a tough move to see. So yeah, I guess I can see how he misses that. Okay, b4, stepping the pawn off that diagonal, but now this whole complex is a little bit weaker, I feel. So rook e7, covering the 7th rank. Important that you can never challenge the rook here, because that square's covered twice. If the queen was not on b5 and you could play rook d7, that would be very scary. But the king is very safe. h7 is a nice cozy hiding spot where it's going to be completely safe from any attack. Queen b3, again, king h7, just step out of the pin. And g3. So, like we were saying, g3 is trying to reactivate that bishop, but again, now there's going to be even more weaknesses around that king. Now that this diagonal is opened up as well, the 7th rank is, or 7th rank from black's perspective, is now opened all the way up to h2, whereas before g2 could act as a barricade. Now that king is going to be in some danger. So knight c5, very nice tactical justification here. The b pawn is pinned, and okay, knight d7. I'm a little bit curious why he didn't go knight d3. Oh, because you take it and you lose a piece because it's pinned. That's why. Yeah. But okay, knight d7. I guess that makes sense now. Queen a4, and okay, now actually white is getting some activity. Now it looks like white's pieces are starting to come to life, doing, by the way, exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They have the rooks versus the knight and pawn, so you want to just put them on open files. A lot of times an exchange sacrifice is justified by the weakness of your opponent's rooks. Here, those rooks are about as active as they can be. So I think white is actually doing very well. But okay, rook a5, queen b3. The queen is getting harassed. And rook e5 now, so offering a trade. Somehow I feel like, and again, this is just me, this is just a purely vibes-based comment, but rook c5 somehow looks like a move here, but I guess you could just take on a3. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Yeah. Okay, rook e5 looks good, actually. I take it back. Rook
I think this
c7.
position looks... Yeah.
What were you going to say?
This looks good for black.
Yeah.
Like this position looks good for black after rook c7. Because white's forced to go rook c5 here to prevent rook c2. That's a big threat. Take that.
Yep. And now the pawns are...
we can just take a free
really
pawn
bad.
here. But also... there's also threats of e3 and knight e4 to get into f2.
Yeah. Now, once you lose... once you also give black this passed pawn, now there are always going to be multiple threats on both sides of the board. Threats on the c5 pawn as well is really, really weak. This, I totally agree. This looks... I mean, maybe the... Okay, the computer's going to give it... I would... Okay, the computer is saying -1 for black. I think from a practical standpoint, this is very, very difficult to play. You're going to have to find some really, computer-style variations as white to hold on here. Really no play for white, right? No pawn breaks. So
just look at king safety. Black's king is so much safer on h7 than white's king. And even though white is up in exchange, this bishop is terrible because all of black's pawns are on light squares, just confining this bishop in. And black's bishop is on a dark square, just working perfectly with the pawns on the light squares. So that's why black's so much better here. And also black has 2 pawns for the exchange, so it's he's not even down much material.
Yeah. Yeah, like even if they can get the bishop to c4, which again, that's a big if. It still wouldn't be. I mean, it would be of course much better than it is now. But like you were saying, the fact that Black has this really nice kingside construction, like there's never even a possible attack. You could even play king h6, and the king is just, you're never going to get to it as white, not in a conventional attack. So okay, rook b1 again. I think white has the right idea. Right, getting the rooks on open files, getting some activity, but yeah, after queen takes c5, I mean, you kind of have to take this now, right? You can't allow a move like b5 to happen to get those pawns in motion, but now the back rank is also a problem. So queen c1 is played in the game, queen f1. So important to keep the queens on here, right? Because white has the weaker king, and queen c6. Already, I would feel like I'm about to just lose immediately. Like this looks like a winning move with e3 on the way. But as it turns out, and to be fair, I looked at this game a little bit before we started. There are a lot of white's king is a little more resilient than you might think at first glance with his bishop coming to g2. But okay, rook a7, queen b6. They take on a6, queen b7 again. Some checks in the air. Rook a2 and knight d5. So the knight is now swooping into play. Rook d2, e3, and again, this looks very, very bad. But I believe after like rook e2, this looks lost, but I think bishop g2 is this... Maybe this isn't saving the day. Actually, is it? Actually, this looks okay. This looks reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah, because tactically it's working out because the knight is hanging, and yeah, so I guess you'd have to take. So that wouldn't quite work. But after rook g2, now I mean, this is like almost looking like a study type position where it's going to be zugzwang very shortly for black. Pieces are completely stuck.
Rook g2 is just a losing blunder because it's just bishop. The bishop makes the bishop out of play now, and now after knight c3, e2 cannot be stopped, and this bishop is just out of play completely. So like white tried with queen e1, but just e2, there's like no moves for white anymore. And after king g1, queen e4, bishop's coming to d4. There's just total domination by black here and strong pawn. It's like so white just gave up.
It's hard to
King
even
h1, like we can even go queen c2, queen d1. This pawn is just gonna come up.
Yeah, king h1. I would want to go bishop d4 just to like. I want a zugzwang here. Yeah, but of course this is probably a better, more efficient way. Yeah. So again, it was that bishop all along that got sidelined on h3. It made sense in the original position to play bishop h3 all the way back. The idea being, I guess we didn't really touch on that. You want to stop knight f5. If you go like, for example, I mean, maybe bishop e2 here is maybe better practically. But oh no, here I think you can even take on b2. Or can you? Actually, can you? This looks, I mean, maybe you can get away with it. There's no good discoveries. But yeah, bishop h3, the idea being you want to stop knight f5. But after f5, you just build a prison for this bishop, and never got out. So very nice game by a returning guest, Yefim Traeger. We got to have him on the show one of these days, but I don't know. I'm sure he has his reasons. But yeah, very nice game. So back to you, Alan.
Yeah, he claims that he does not have the proper equipment to come onto the show, but that's alright. Instead of Yefim, we have Justin Lee. And we have Justin Lee instead, who I know we'll see again very soon. So, next week, as of right now, no show, due to the fact that both your hosts will be away. Week after that, December 31st, although there won't be a show at 8 p.m., we will have a special event. We're going to have a New Year Blitz tournament at 11 a.m. at a Glen location. And yes, it will be live streamed. I will be there in person streaming. and we will have some guests, I don't know who yet, we will have some guests on the platform helping us with the commentary. So look out for that. Link will be available soon. It's going to be a good event. I'll see everyone there.
Bye-bye.